Yeah. At the end of the festival, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa went away, offering his blessings to everyone. At that time, he had some controversy with my brother.
चैतन्य प्रभु ते तारा सुदृढ़ विश्वास नित्यानंद प्रति तार विश्वास आभास.
Can we see the translation?
Hang on a second. This is still struggling with this. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now everything is set.
My brother had firm faith in Lord Chaitanya, but only a dim glimmer of faith in Lord Nityananda.
इह जानी रामदासेरा दुःख haila मने तबे ता भ्रातरे आम्ही करीनु भर्त्सने.
Knowing this, Sri Ramdas felt unhappy in his mind. I then rebuked my brother.
दुई भाई एक तनु समान प्रकाश नित्यानंद न माने तुम्हारा हवे सर्वनाश.
These two brothers, I told him, are like one body. They are identical manifestations. If you do not believe in Lord Nityananda, you will fall down.
एके ते विश्वास अन्य न करे सम्मान अर्ध कुकुटे न्याय तुम्हारा प्रमाण.
If you have faith in one, but disrespect the other, your logic is like the logic of accepting half a hen.
इम्वा दोनाना मानी न होता पाषांड एके मानी अरे न मानी एई मत भंड.
It would be better to be an atheist by slighting both brothers than a hypocrite by believing in one and slighting the other.
क्रुद्ध हैया वंशी भांगी चले रामदास तत्काले अमर भ्रातर हैल सर्वनाश.
Thus, Sri Ramdas broke his flute in anger and went away. And at that time, my brother fell down.
ऐता कहिल तारा सेवक प्रभाव हार एक कही तारा दयार स्वभाव.
I have thus described the power of the servants of Lord Nityananda. Now I shall describe another characteristic of his mercy.
भाई के भारसिनु मुनि लाना लना ए गुण से रात्रे प्रभु मोरे दिल दर्शन.
That night, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream because of my good quality in chastising my brother.
नाई हाथी निकटे झांप झामतापुर नामे ग्राम ताना स्वप्ने देखा दिला नित्यानंद राम.
In the village of Jamatapur, which is near Naihati, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream. Purport. There is now a railway line to Jamatapur. If one wants to go there, he can take a train on the Katwa railway line and go directly to the station known as Shalar. From that station, one can go directly to Jamatapur.
दंडवत हैया आम्ही पडीनु पायते निज पाद पद्म प्रभु दिला मोर माथे.
I fell at his feet, offering my obeisances, and he then placed his own lotus feet upon my head.
उठ उठ बली मोरे बले बार बार उठी तारा रूपे देखी होइनो चमत्कार.
Arise, get up, he told me again and again. Upon rising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty.
श्याम चिक्कण कांती प्रकांड शरीर साक्षात कंदर्प याईचे महामल्लवीर.
He had a glossy, blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself.
सुवलित हस्त पद कमल नयान पट्ट वस्त्र शिरे पट्ट वस्त्र परिधान.
He had beautifully formed hands, arms, and legs, and eyes like lotus flowers. He wore a silk cloth with a silk turban on his head.
सुवर्ण कुंडल करणे स्वर्णांगदा वाला पायते नूपुर पाजे कंठे पुष्पमाला.
He wore golden earrings on his ears and golden armlets and bangles. He wore tinkling aglets on his feet and a garland of flowers around his neck.
चंदन लेपिते अंग तिलक सुथाम मत्त गजजिनी मदमंथर पापयान.
His body was anointed with sandalwood pulp, and he was nicely decorated with tilak. His movements surpassed those of a maddened elephant.
कोटी चंद्रजिनी मुख उज्ज्वल वर्ण डाळिंब बीज समदंत तांबूल चर्वण.
His face was more beautiful than millions upon millions of moons, and his teeth were like pomegranate seeds because of his chewing betel.
प्रेमे मत्त अंग दाहिने वाम डोले कृष्ण कृष्ण बोलिया गंभीर बोले बोले.
His body moved to and fro, right and left. He was absorbed in ecstasy. He chanted, Krishna, Krishna, in a deep voice.
रांगा यष्टि हस्ते डोले येन मत्त सिंह चारी पाशे वेरी आछे चरणे ते भृंग.
His red stick moving in his hand, he seemed like a maddened lion. All around the four sides of his feet were bumblebees.
पारिषद पारिषाद गणे देखी सब गोप वेश कृष्ण कृष्ण कहे सबे सप्रेम आवेशे.
His devotees, dressed like cowherd boys, surrounded his feet like so many bees and also chanted, Krishna, Krishna, absorbed in ecstatic love.
सिंगवांशी बाजाय केह केह नाचे गाय सेवक योगाय तांबूल चामर डुलाय.
Some of them played horns and flutes, and others danced and sang. Some of them offered betel nuts, and others waved chamara fans about him.
नित्यानंद स्वरूपेर देखिया वैभव किवा रूप गुण लीला अलौकिक सब.
Thus, I saw such opulence in Lord Nityananda Sharup, his wonderful form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental.
आनंदे विह्वल आमी किचु नाही जानी तबे हासी प्रभु मोरे कहिले न वाणी.
I was overwhelmed with transcendental ecstasy, not knowing anything else. Then Lord Nityananda smiled and spoke to me as follows.
अरे अरे कृष्णदास ना करह भय वृंदावने याह ताना सर्व लभ्य हय.
Oh, my dear Krishnadas, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things.
एत बलि प्रेरिला मोरे हात्सन सानी दिया अंतरधान कैल प्रभु निज गण लना.
After saying this, he directed me toward Vrindavan by waving his hand. Then he disappeared with his associates.
मूर्छित हैया मुनी पडिनु भूमिते स्वप्नभंग हैला देखी हानाचे प्रभते.
I fainted and fell to the ground. My dream broke, and when I regained consciousness, I saw that morning had come.
की देखिनु की सुनिनु करिए विचार प्रभु आज्ञा हैला वृंदावन यही बार.
I thought about what I had seen and heard and concluded that the Lord had ordered me to proceed to Vrindavan at once.
ते क्षणे वृंदावने करिनु गमन प्रभुर कृपाते सुखे आईनु वृंदावन.
That very second, that's kshane, and by his mercy, I started for Vrindavan, and by his mercy, I reached there in great happiness.
जय जय नित्यानंद नित्यानंद राम याहार कृपाते पाईनु वृंदावन धाम.
All glory to Lord Nityananda Balaram, by whose mercy I have attained shelter in the transcendental abode of Vrindavan.
जय जय नित्यानंद जय कृपामय यहाँ है ते पाईनु रूप सनाताश्रय नातनाश्रय.
All glory to the merciful Lord Nityananda, by whose mercy I have attained shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan.
यहाँ है ते पाईनु रघुनाथ महाशय यहाँ है ते पाईनु श्री स्वरूपाश्रय.
By his mercy, I have attained the shelter of the great personality Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and by his mercy, I have found the refuge of Sri Swarup Damodar. Purport. Anyone desiring to be expert in the service of Sri Radha and Krishna should always aspire to be under the guidance of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. To come under the protection of the Goswamis, one must get the mercy and grace of Nityananda Prabhu. The author has tried to explain this fact in these two verses. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamaikam Dadati Shapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to ask permission and blessings from all devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age and or advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is a very important part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like in Srimad Bhagavatam, the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami, how is it that the Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken? How did this thing come about? So then Sutta Goswami described the interactions of circumstances with Parikshit Maharaj, how he was cursed. He went to the bank of the Jamuna. He met so many sages, and eventually Shukadev Goswami came, and so on. So similarly, in the writing of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, this was the initial impetus of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who was living in Jamatapur, which is just not far from Katwa, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, northwest of Navadvip. He was living there with his brother. And do you recall the incidents that led up to this Lord Nityananda appearing to him in a dream? Maybe that was a long time. Do you remember? Very interesting. Very interesting.
No, I don't.
Okay. Should I just review? Okay, I can review.
No, it would be nice if you can, yeah.
Okay. So there was a Sankirtan festival, chanting the holy names at the house, at the family house there of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and his brother. And at that festival, one great devotee of Lord Nityananda by the name of Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa showed up. And he was in an ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. He had tears in his eyes and was chanting always Krishna, Nityananda, loudly. And he, when people offered obeisances, sometimes he'd climb on their back and some other unusual things. But he was recognized by practically everyone as a great devotee of Lord Nityananda, and they gave him respect and gave him a seat to be appreciated. So the only persons who didn't respect him was the pujari there, Gunarnava Mishra, who's a Brahmin, and Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother. So this is very interesting. The pujari apparently was in the middle of worshiping the deity. So seeing the lack of respect given to him, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa, by the pujari and subsequently the brother, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa became irritated and said, this is like these people are like another Romaharshan Sutta. And perhaps you know the incident of Romaharshan Sutta in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam with this involving the sages of Naimisharanya. But anyway, at that point, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa, after some time, he became irritated, and he had another controversy with Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother, and he broke his flute. He had a flute with him. He broke his flute and left. Then, as mentioned, as we were reading, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami chastised his brother because his brother, although he had faith in Lord Chaitanya, did not accept Lord Nityananda, or had very little, dim glimmer, it says, very little faith in Lord Nityananda. So he said, that's the philosophy of half a hen. You know, are you familiar with the philosophy of half a hen? So
Yes.
okay, good.
Prabhupada mentions it many times, I guess.
Yes. So the farmer has a hen, and he's very economic. He may be Gujarati, I don't know. But he thinks the front part of the hen, it costs me money, and the back part is where I get the eggs, and so that's a boon. I could sell those eggs. So if I cut the hen in half, then I can save the money on the feed and still keep the lucrative part. But by cutting the hen in half, he doesn't realize that he loses everything. So the philosophy of half a hen, accepting Lord Chaitanya, but not accepting Lord Nityananda or neglecting Lord Nityananda, as was symbolized or understood as by the neglect of Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa. So Krishnadas Kaviraj chastised his brother, who apparently didn't agree with, even after being chastised, he still didn't agree. He still didn't change his ways, and eventually he fell down, or immediately fell down, very quickly fell down, because he had this philosophy of half a hen. And then Lord Nityananda, pleased with Krishnadas Kaviraj's chastising his brother on that point, he appeared to him in a dream and exhibited his wonderful, incredible qualities, and then told him, go to Vrindavan. There you'll get all things. And that's when Krishnadas Kaviraj immediately left for Vrindavan, and there he took the shelter of the 6 Goswamis, specifically Rupa, Raghunath, and Sanatana Goswami. And he heard from them, from Raghunath Das Goswami specifically, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya as given to him by Swarup Damodar Goswami. And that's how we'll read about that a little bit later in this same chapter. But that's how the Chaitanya Charitamrita came to be, describing in more detail the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya with his associates. So this is a very, very interesting pastime that takes place. And as I said, that Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa was saying that this is, it's like another instance of Ramaharshan Sutta. If you're familiar with the pastime of Lord Balaram and Ramaharshan Sutta, Lord Balaram was visiting pilgrimage to many holy places, and he came upon the holy place of Naimisharanya. And in Naimisharanya, there was a great sacrifice going on that was scheduled to take place and go on for 1,000 years. Many, many thousands of Brahmins were there, and they had elected Romaharshan, who was a sutta, to be speaking on the bhrātā-sane. So Lord Balaram arrived at the assembly, and all the sages and great personalities present, Brahmins and great sages, they stood up or offered obeisances to Lord Balaram, except Romaharshan Sutta, who was seated on the Vyasasana. So Lord Balaram could understand that even though he was seated on the Vyasasana, and even though for an ordinary person to come into the assembly, there wouldn't be any need for a person sitting on the Vyasasana to give respect. But in the case of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, certainly Romaharshan Sutta should have offered some kind of respect to Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram could understand that even though Romaharshan Sutta had been elected to this elevated position of being seated on the Vyasasana and describing the Vedic literatures to all these hundreds of Brahmins, you can imagine, all these very learned persons had appreciated, and to the extent of making him the speaker among all those thousands of Brahmins. In spite of that, his realization was lacking, just even on the most important principle of religion, that is submissiveness, surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself shows up. So he said, the learning, even though Romaharshan Sutta is very learned, he's making a show of his learning, but inside he's still impure, because a person who's actually advanced in spiritual knowledge becomes humble, not puffed up. And because Romaharshan was puffed up with his learning and was not humble, as evidenced by his refusal to show respect to Lord Balaram, Lord Balaram took a blade of kusha grass and hit him on the head with the kusha grass, and it was so incredible that it killed him. Wow. So there are parallels between this incident with Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa at the house of Krishnadas Kaviraj and the example of Lord Balaram and Romaharshan Sutta. I would like the audience, the hearers, listeners here, to compare and contrast those two incidents, if you don't mind. What is similar and what is different?
Well, for one thing, the first incident still showed disrespect to Lord Nityananda, who's also Balaram. So, and Romaharshan Sutta also showed disrespect to Balaram. So, two incidences where the same personality has been disrespected. That's one.
Yes, very good. Although the one in Krishna's Leela with Lord Balaram and the sages of Naimisharanya, that was Lord Balaram directly. And in this instance, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it wasn't directly Lord Balaram, but they could understand that the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj and also the Pujari were neglecting Lord Balaram because they didn't appreciate or didn't give respect to Lord Nityananda's great devotee, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa. You see? You follow?
Yeah. Yeah. I also think that, sorry.
Yeah, there's a slight difference in system, but the ultimate point, as you gave, is that ultimately both the Romaharshan Sutta as well as the Pujari and Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother were neglecting or disrespecting Lord Balaram in one way or another. Yes.
I think the contrast part was In the case of Mahasan Sutta, he was killed, and in the case of the Pujari, he wasn't killed.
Yes, he wasn't killed. That's right. And his brother fell down, but he didn't die. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So also interesting. Any other observations? Dear Krishna Prabhu, Mother Anasuya. No? Okay. Well, yeah, so the incident with Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother and the Pujari, Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa, came into the assembly, and what was the Pujari doing? He was doing deity worship, isn't it? That's what and what was Ramaharshan Sutta doing when Balaram entered? He was speaking on the Vedic literatures in the assembly of Brahmins and sages. So both were engaged in Krishna conscious activities, apparently, right? In spite of that, it was expected by Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa that the Pujari would offer some kind of respect to him when he arrived on behalf of Lord Nityananda. Do you follow? So does that mean that if somebody's speaking on the Vyasa-sane or somebody's offering arti and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself in another form, or a great devotee arrives, they should somehow offer respect to that person? What do you think?
I think so.
And how would that happen?
Well, the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be offered respect in all situations. I think,
like Lord Balaram, right.
Yeah, in all situations. Safest thing to do.
So what would happen? So a person is offering arti, or they're sitting on the Vyasa-sane, giving a talk on Krishna consciousness, and in walks, say, their spiritual master. What should they do?
I think they need to offer respect to the spiritual master.
And how would they do that?
I would get up off the bhrātā-sane and just offer my obeisance.
Okay.
Hare Krishna,
Yeah.
Humble obeisances, August of Prabhupada. It's interesting this topic is coming up because I think I remember a class given about this a little bit by Chandramas. We touched about this question, I think, a little bit last week.
I figured you might have, yeah.
A little bit. Someone asked, I forgot who it was.
No, I asked a question about it.
Yes, it was actually Prabhu that asked the question. Yes, exactly, towards the end. When someone is giving class on the Vyasa-sane and a senior devotee, and I think Pritchett says senior devotee, I think, that walks in.
Like a godbrother of the group.
Yeah, he said that we should offer our respects, I think is what he said. Because I think that's Vaishnava etiquette, if it's someone senior, like I know how I was trained that if I was giving class and a senior devotee walks in or is present in the congregation, I would first ask their permission if they would like to give the class or if I can continue whatever they say. But in terms of deity worship, when it's doing pujari, like if we're not doing arati, I never thought about that.
That's a tough one.
I never thought about that. Because the thing is, our focus is on the deity worship. I think what's coming to my mind is when we see a senior devotee, probably, or a guru or sannyasi, probably in our hearts, like like a mental respect, and still continue with this worship. That's a catch-22 for me. Like I don't know about that part. Yeah, that's a very good question, Prabhu.
I can actually relate one, if you don't mind, to
Yeah, of course.
one situation that I was the pujari. So the arti is going on. This is a Girinagri. And my switching master was there in the among the congregation. He was actually in the front too. And so I was offered arti articles. And when I'm finished going through all the D's and so on, switching master and so on, and then before I offer again, I'll turn and do a moving of the whatever I'm holding, offer to him first, and then the rest of the devotees. Now, again, I was very much a rookie, neophyte, but I just thought that's my switcher master. I have to show something that I know he's there. So I basically inserted that offering directly to him into the arti procedure. Now,
Very
whether that's right or
interesting.
wrong, I don't know, but I did it just to acknowledge that I know he's there.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, from this pastime, it seems reasonable to conclude that in some way one should offer respect to a great devotee or one's spiritual master, even if one is offering arti on the altar. That was the situation of Gunarnava Mishra. He was the devotee offering arti or engaged in the worship of the deity at the time of Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa's appearance at the assembly, Sankirtan. So exactly how one does it, that's apparently Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa knew that the pujari didn't offer him respect even within his heart. Apparently he knew that. So I don't know how he knew that. Because if you're doing it within your heart, then nobody can really see that. Of course, the great devotee can understand. But anyway, and then the question would come up, what about what makes a senior devotee? How senior is it? Should it be applied? Somebody been in the senior to you or senior to, that's a little tricky question. So you're perhaps in the some RGB conference. Perhaps you can. That's something that the Shastric Advisory Council or the Deity Worship Ministry can help illuminate, because it's an important thing. Here was such a big deal that they didn't offer respect to Mīnaketana Rāmadāsa, both of them, that they the brother fell down because they didn't do it. It's not just a little tidbit of etiquette. It's a big deal, right? You follow. He fell down because of, and not only that, but because of the chastisement of his brother, Krishnadas Kaviraj got special mercy from Lord Nityananda. Wow, isn't that amazing? Wow, yeah. So that's it's a very, very interesting situation. And then now, to me, it's really interesting that all these Brahmins and sages, they elected Maharshan to sit on the Vyasa-sane. I mean, this was 5,000 years ago when people were pretty spiritually advanced. And apparently even they got fooled that that Maharshan was an advanced person who really understood the principles of religion. Even these great sages 5,000 years ago. What to speak of us today? Do you follow? We could be fooled to elect someone who's not really qualified. You follow?
Yeah. I have another question also, but it's just...
Yeah, please. Discussion is great on this issue.
So there was a dream.
Yeah.
Krishnadas Kaviraj got a dream, and a good bit of the text describe this dream. And one of the texts mentioned the complexion of
Lord Balaram,
yeah. And it's interesting that he said it's glowing blackish color.
Glossy black.
Glossy blackish. And if I hear blackish, I'm thinking Krishna. So I don't know how this comes up in that particular color. Immediately spotted that. It threw me and I said, I think we're talking about on the channel. We'll be talking something whitish. So why are we dealing with black? That's how my mind immediately latched on to. That's an interesting. I'm not saying it's wrong because it's a dream, but it's interesting that the Lord appeared in that blackish color. Just interesting.
Yes. So what color is Lord, what color is Lord Nityananda really? We see paintings of Lord Nityananda along with Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
And usually he has a golden form. Sometimes it's a little more whitish than Lord Chaitanya, like a moon and the sun. The first verse of the Chaitanya Bhagavat goes, Ajanu lambita bujo kanukabatato sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksho. That means there he's talking, Vrindavan Das Thakur is speaking about both Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. He says, Ajanu lambita bujo. They're both their hands, their arms go below their knees. Kanukabatato. And their bodies, their forms are golden in complexion, he says. Interesting. So I can't say with any surety, but it's apparently that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can sometimes change his color if he likes.
Yeah,
do we have any other
that's what I was thinking too.
Do we have any other instances of that?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
Well, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but in the color of Srimati Radharani. Right? Because
well, you had mentioned the both.
Sham Sundar.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting point. Yeah, I picked up on that too. Good observation.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong because the Lord can do any and everything at his will. But I thought it was interesting that in that dream he came in that blackish color. Yeah. But he can do whatever he wants whenever.
We can say that from our intellectual, reasonable situation. I've just never read that anywhere in a scripture. Although we do have some, it's like the instance of Lord Chaitanya, who's Krishna, but blackish, he changes his color for golden. But Lord Ramchandra is green, or green is like a fresh grown grass and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, these things. So so another point on the instance of Ramaharsham Sutta, he says that Lord Balaram said that his purpose was to come to chastise those who are internally impure, but pose themselves as learned and religious. Ooh, that's his business. That's why he came to this earth, to chastise those who are internally impure, but pose themselves as learned and religious. Ooh. So,
yes.
Yeah, so we got to be very careful of. So one should not sit on the Vyasa-sane if one is not pure in heart. One is not, free from vices, etc. So that's a warning. Otherwise, the wrath of Lord Balaram might come upon one if one does that. So very interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can we look at it another way, that if somebody that's preaching knows that he's not pure, that they can start, before they start preaching, to admit that they are only representing a spiritual master, just by the mercy of the spiritual master, we're sitting here. I think that I'm an expert in anything, but by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga, please guide me. So that way, then basically through humility, they can sit there, but the understanding that they have is that they themselves are unqualified. Is that one way to get around the issue?
That may be. I mean, I know that's how some devotees do it. On the other hand, there are those my godbrothers who said that actually Srila Prabhupada is the only one on the Vyasa-asana in the temple. In every temple, there's one Vyasa-asana, and the other seats that are there are not really Vyasa-asana. Some people say that. Have you ever heard that before? Like our godbrother Balabhadra says that. Balabhadra Prabhu. The
Yes,
Vyasa-asana is
Prabhu, I've heard that. I think for those that sit on the speaker's seat, they normally don't call that Vyasa-san. That's only for Prabhupada. That's
Yeah.
just called an asan, if I'm not
Yes, an
mistaken.
asana.
Yes. Yeah, we
Yes.
don't call it Vyasa-san.
So that's a way of it by changing the letters. Of course, when Srila Prabhupada himself was in the temple room, and any time that somebody, like for example, during the appearance or disappearance anniversary of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, if they put a picture of his spiritual master on what would be the Vyasa-san in the temple, Srila Prabhupada would make a point of sitting on the ground, just on a little cushion. Did you know that?
Mm.
And actually, if you read in the disciple handbook, which people have to, the disciple course that people have to pass in order to get initiation, prior to initiation, they have to pass it. There it says very clearly that one shouldn't sit on an elevated seat in front of the spiritual master. Very interesting. So I brought that up to the writers. They didn't give me any response to that. But anyway, in the early days of ISKCON, anybody gave class, nobody sat on an elevated seat. Actually, there was one person in New York, but shortly he had problems. But everybody just sat on a cushion on the ground during Srimad Bhagavatam, any class. And Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa-san was there. But after Prabhupada's disappearance, then there was kind of a scramble about seats because of a variety of factors. But in those days, nobody sat on an elevated seat so I don't know what changed, but something changed.
Yeah.
You follow?
And when I was getting angry, also we all sat on the cushion and the floor. That's it.
Yeah.
All
So one might take that into account. Of course, now it's become the practice everywhere that there has to be a speaker seat, but for many years before, there was no speaker seat necessary for devotees who spoke on Srimad Bhagavatam or give class on Sunday or anything like that. Anyway, just an interesting point. Of course, you could say that certainly would be safer to avoid if in case you're internally impure like me, then safer to be not sit on a elevated seat. You can get around it by not calling it a Vyasa-san. Okay, but anyway, those are the points.
Thank you.
Another point is the rapidity of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami going to accepting the order of Lord Nityananda, even though it was in a dream, and immediately going to Vrindavan. He didn't, it says he immediately, kshana, it means just a second, he immediately left for Vrindavan. That's called surrender, isn't it? Surrender.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada was on, a train from Amritsar, which is in northern India, in Punjab, on his way to Vrindavan by train. And the train stopped in Delhi. And while it was stopped, there was some man, Delhi guy said, Swamiji, why did you start a temple in Delhi? So Srila Prabhupada asked a couple of devotees, Guru Das was one. I said, why don't you get down here and try to start a temple? And they did. And they did. That's called surrender. Oh, the surrender. Whatever you say, I'll do. That's surrender. And that's the special quality of a devotee, a surrendered devotee, that they'll do immediately what the Guru or Krishna request them to do, and didn't hum and haw. Very interesting point. He immediately, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami immediately went. And then the other point, which is a little bit puzzling for me, and perhaps you can help with this, is that Krishnadas Kaviraj called the accepting Lord Nityananda, accepting Lord Chaitanya, but not giving credence or having faith in Lord Nityananda, accepting Lord Chaitanya, but not having faith in Lord Nityananda, better to be an atheist than that way. What do you think of that? You follow? Remember that verse?
Yeah.
Better be an atheist than a hypocrite is what he said. Because at least he's got faith in Lord Chaitanya. Hey. What do you think?
But it's like playing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's like playing both sides. I'm accepting white and I'm accepting black. That I'm accepting positive and then I'm neglecting positive. That's the way it's playing in my mind, because they are their lordships. They are the lordships. They are equally potent. So you accept one and you don't pay attention to the other. No wonder all of those analogies were given like half a hand and all this kind of, but it just doesn't even make sense to me that why, if unless the person does not know the potency of Lord Nityananda, maybe. But if I don't know why that the person would say maybe Lord Chaitanya is the most, they're thinking that way. Then they don't think the Lord Nityananda is actually just as important as Lord Chaitanya. But even so, with etiquette alone, they should respect Lord Nityananda. Etiquette demands.
We don't know. We don't know exactly why he didn't have faith in Lord Nityananda. We could speculate on it. Lord Nityananda was sometimes known as Avaduta. There's that Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Shadvaitam Savadhutam. He's an Avaduta.
Yeah.
So his behavior seems a little bit more difficult to because he doesn't always seem to follow regulative principles. He wrestles with crocodiles, things like that. It's a little out there. I don't know those things, but somebody could make that argument. We see Dear Krishna Prabhu said that better be not offensive than offensive. Yeah, so offensive to Lord Nityananda. Of course, an atheist would also be offensive. So yeah, it's a little hard for me to grasp. But then, on the other hand, we see that in the instance of Ramaharshan Sutta, Lord Balaram was talking about how even though he's posing as a spiritually advanced person, because he's in his heart, he hasn't accepted the idea of surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus hasn't become humble or gentle. This person, Ramaharshan, was like a snake with a jewel on the hood. He said, like a snake with a jewel. Even though he was following many Vedic principles, still he hadn't accepted that ultimate important aspect. So that's one statement. When Arjuna spoke about Bhagavad Gita, was sharing Bhagavad Gita, he said near the end, he said, Sarvam etad vitam manye yanmam vadashikeshava. Oh Lord Krishna, I totally accept everything you say as truth. No half the things. And in Krishna consciousness, we get into trouble if we think, oh, the spiritual Srila Prabhupada's instructions will follow these, but we won't follow those. That makes it's a source of offense, as you said, or fall down. And if we present ourselves as elevated, like a pujari or something, but are only following half the philosophy, it's a very dangerous circumstance. It can mislead people. If that makes sense. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's all subtleties though. It's part of our life we have to be aware of.
Yeah. To only take some of the, I'll follow 2 regulative principles. Okay, that's good. But if one does that and then presents oneself as spiritually advanced, then that's dangerous. It's a misleading situation.
Yeah.
That's a problem. So anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. Prabhupada didn't elaborate on that point, but that's what Krishnadas Kaviraj said. Is it better you be better be a atheist than a hypocrite? That's what he said.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
thank you
please
very
go.
much. Very, very much for nice class with a lot of discussion about this. And it's a pastime too, the whole thing, how Krishnadas Kaviraj was asked to go to Vrindavan. I know that's where the Chaitanya Charitamrita was written then when he went there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's very, very, very nice. Any questions from the Woodies? Final question?
Oh, it's late. I see. I didn't even realize it's not
Yeah,
late
yeah.
already.
And
Wow.
she is unmuted.
Prabhu, I had a question in the beginning of the lecture and I forgot, but if I remember, Prabhu, can I email you? I had a question, I don't remember now.
Of course, sure.
Yeah, it was just the beginning as you were reading and I forgot, but if I remember, I'll email you, Prabhu.
Yeah, sure. No
Okay.
problem.
Thank you.
So one announcement, we started Kartik, and there's Damodar Astakam in the temple every evening. The arati starts at 6:30. Please come, and we can just do the arati, Shingadev, and then the Damodar Astakam. It's very solemn, very nice. The Buddhists can come. And finally, I also like to appreciate Vishnugada for last visit here. It was really ecstatic. And the prasāda was excellent, and the lectures was excellent, and even the prasāda time when we were talking. I mean, it was more personal and it was very, very wonderful. I just felt that very much that way about it. I think Damodar wants to say something. Okay, go
We had
ahead.
some fun. We had fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah. Same. I wanted to appreciate as well, and I was talking to Narayan Prabhu afterwards, and he was appreciating Prabhuji's presence a lot. He was like, I had a time of my life, you know. He was sitting close to a Prabhupada disciple, and he was getting all the knowledge and sharing his experiences about Prabhupada and everything. So he
Yeah.
liked it very much. Of course, I liked it too. So
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
You're very kind.
I'm
Very
glad I'm
kind.
saying it. I was going to email you to tell you how
Very
much
kind.
we appreciate it, but no, I mean, when I say it's really true. I mean, we all felt very, very, very relaxed and very, very comfortable around you, and the conversation just flowed like that, one pastime to another. And I know Narayan asked quite a few questions, and so
We
yeah,
had
thank you very much for coming.
it's part of, I grew up in ISKCON as my early services, of course, were Sankirtan, but also cooking. So it's got a special flavor of being able to make offerings to the Lord when I can. So, and cooking Sunday feast is a big deal. So we had some fun doing that, doing that service. Yeah, it's the prasadam. When I was working in the kitchen in New York, and we were always wondering, does Srila Prabhupada, we're working, going early in the morning, way we're 6 o'clock in the morning, staying there all day. Does Srila Prabhupada really know? So they used to take pictures of the deities to Srila Prabhupada when, from temple presidents would bring. And so he brought the pictures of Radha Govinda, the temple president in New York, to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, oh, very nice. The deities are looking very healthy from their service of their devotees. Nice. And he also said, oh, are they still making the Sunday feast like I showed, with samosa, with halava, sabjis, all sweet rice. He wanted it to be as nice, and we try to continue that as much as we can for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. It should be in some places I've been, they have They have like rice and dal and a couple things, and they call it a feast. But it's okay. It's all right. Better than feast is elaborate. We try to do that. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
It was nice. The mood. We all felt very relaxed around it. That's the one thing that we all felt. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Prabhu,
devotees.
I remembered my question. Can I ask?
Yeah, sure.
I had to really crack my head. Prabhu, when you were mentioning and when you were in the beginning part of the class that of course from the purport that Lord Nityananda appeared in the dream to Krishnadas Kaviraj at the time to go to Vrindavan, and we have been told that to go to Vrindavan we need to get the permission of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and then go to Vrindavan. And then we also know that in order to enter into Vrindavan, we need to get the permission of Radharani to get, entrance into Vrindavan. But Prabhu, we are not, at least I can speak for myself, not elevated to, get dreams like that. So how can we know that, how will we know that, okay, I'm going to Vrindavan by the mercy of the devotees, like for Krishna Das Kaviraj, he was given this dream. We don't get that. So how do we know, Prabhu, that this is the right thing to do, going to the holy dham, go to, get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, then go to Vrindavan, how do we get entrance into Vrindavan by the permission of Radharani? Like, how can we understand that science, Prabhu, that Krishna conscious science?
Well, Srila Prabhupada started this Mayapur Vrindavan festival every year. You know that. And he wanted all the devotees in ISKCON to go to Mayapur, then Vrindavan. First Mayapur, and then Vrindavan. You might know that. So that's Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And of course, that's the beginning. And without cleaning our hearts, we won't be able to appreciate it. But part of appreciation is being able to go there and being cleansed by being in Vrindavan, doing devotional service in Vrindavan, hearing Krishna conscious pastimes in Vrindavan. In 1972, Srila Prabhupada invited devotees all over the world to come to Vrindavan for a month to hear the nectar devotion. You know that. So we can still do that. There's 28 lectures of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. So, so going physically to Vrindavan or kind of physically to Vrindavan was requested or given, requested by Srila Prabhupada for devotees. So that's one. And then to really do it fully, we have to clean our hearts, and we have to keep chanting Hare Krishna, doing devotional service, and that's what's required.
So it's by the permission of the spiritual master, of Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada requested it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's an interesting story that a devotee approached. I think it was in 1976, and they said, Srila Prabhupada, it costs too much money for all these devotees to come to Mayapur, because you have the plane tickets and stuff. So better they don't get. It's better we keep some back. And Prabhupada said, no. Yes, that's true. Yes. Also, we save money if we don't eat, he said. We can save money if we don't eat. You follow?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean that level that puts it to the level of quite important, isn't it? So
Srila Prabhupada has a wonderful answer to every situation. Note that.
And of course, going to Vrindavan isn't just visiting the places, but also hearing from the great devotees. Like my godbrother Vaisheshik Prabhu, he goes every Kartik to Vrindavan and just spends the whole month hearing Srimad Bhagavatam with other devotees. Yeah, that's those are exemplary activities that we can learn from. Like Srila Prabhupada did. He went there and spoke nectar devotion, and Srimad Bhagavatam also.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu, for this nectar.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Kripasniveva cha
Kripasindhubhye
patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jai.